morning traders, Joseph here from Eightcap. Welcome to this week's Asian session update for Trade Zone. So we will start with the USD CAD, as that was some of the final data we saw last Friday. So we had Canadian employment data and it came in pretty positive. So unemployment fell to 5% from 5.1. Sorry. It was expected to come in at 5.1 and it came in at 5%, so that was matching the previous data, but it beat expectations. So, and we also had employment change come in positive 150,000 to the 15,000 that was expected. We saw a bit of a negative reaction from the dollar CAD. It was an interesting session for the dollar. We had primarily a stronger dollar, added 0.35% to finish the week, but the dollar CAD failed to beat this 35.50 area resistance, 34.50 resistance, and we saw a pretty strong decline. So it might be just a sign that with the strong employment data, maybe that the market is thinking that the Bank of Canada may not be looking to be too aggressive in the future with interest rate rises. Oil was another factor as well. So oil was trading 2.71% higher. So that also would have been a bit of a factor for the dollar CAD as well. We also had the UOM consumer sentiment for the US. That came in at positive 66.4, and that was, that wrapped out the week. Now, in terms of some of the headlines, we saw that the Bank of Japan has selected their next governor, and it's looking to be, excuse my pronunciation here, Kazu Uda, and he is looked to being tapped on the shoulder to take the job. We've also seen that the Russian Deputy Prime Minister has plans to cut oil output in March by 500k barrels per day, and that's to improve the market situation. Now that definitely looks to be a bit of a factor for oil, and that hasn't been put through OPEC, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that and where OPEC stands on that as well. And we'll continue to watch that during the week, as higher oil prices does feed into the big topic that continues to rage at the moment, which is global inflation. And it is interesting that with a cut in oil production, how that will figure in as well, because oil has been a bit slowed down lately with worries about global growth and demand. So it will be interesting to see if OPEC does have any comments on that. So looking at some of the markets so far today, we're looking at the Aussie is a bit of a watch at the moment. It still looks to have this pattern of a continuation lower. Sellers are trying, and we saw a close lower on Friday, and we've seen some small losses so far to start this week. The pattern here does still look bearish, so we'll keep an eye on that this week to see if sellers can push lower once again. And the euro as well, similar story, pattern's the same. We've got that trend break, lower high, a break on Friday, and there's that short-term support break, and we're seeing further selling so far this morning. It's the same with the pound, very similar pattern on all three at the moment. We'll see if the pound if it does break low, if it can get down to this point here, and if we do see further selling, that would be our next target, and that would be possible level of resistance to sellers and support for buyers. That's at 1.1905. Now the yen had a bit of a fight back on Friday. It wasn't really a solid session, and we saw a bit of a pullback from lows. So we do see some support here at the moment at 90.80 for the Aussie yen, and for the euro yen, similar story, range bound at the moment, and we're seeing that support there at 140.20, and the pound yen, another range. Same story with the bar on Friday. We've got resistance here for buyers to beat at 159.53, and there's support, really from 157.76 down to 157.12. The pound yen doesn't look too inviting right now, to be honest with you. I think we'll be watching the patterns on the risk majors to the US dollar to see if they can get going. This needs a bit of direction, and even with that news out of the Bank of Japan, we'll just see if the market can find some direction. Now, the dollar yen So even though there was a positive day for the dollar on Friday, the yen really ruled the session. We did see that late fight back. So we still like this pattern here. So we've got that trend break. We've got our initial breakout. We've got a higher low now. So we'll continue to watch this to see if this can turn into a new upswing. And if it does turn into a new upswing on the short term, we'll be looking to see if buyers can retest and break 132.62. That's an area that was really is a key, not a key, but a pretty decent level of resistance right now. So we'll need to see if buyers can get some action going and if we can get a new move back up there to test that. But at the moment, it is still looking positive. We've got the two higher lows. We've got a bit of a triangle breakout here on that bar on the previous week, and then we just need to see if this higher low can turn into something and if buyers can get some momentum back. The Kiwi this morning to the dollar, it's a very similar pattern as well. I probably like the Aussie and the Euro and the pound a little bit more, but we can see a consolidation here after this break lower. But sellers will need to really break through this level here at 62.98, and then if buyers are going to get going again, we'll need to see a proper close, really back above this area here. It's 0.6361, but it's pretty range bound at the moment. Now gold's flickering between the positive and the negative right now. Interesting session for gold. We did see a little bit more support than first anticipated. We have a bit of a break lower on Friday, but that was pulled back, and we still have the same pattern. It's very similar to what we're seeing on the Forex, on the major risk majors to the dollar. We've got that trend break. We have a lower high. We have a push lower. So now we really need to see if sellers can get this going with a new leg lower, but they've got some pretty decent support here at 1860.33. That once again was defended on Friday and continues to be a short-term support point to watch for now. And stock indices, so we saw a mixed session in the US with the Dow and S&P finishing higher, but the Nasdaq closed lower, and we saw European stocks as well end the week lower. So we can see here that the trends still remain in play. We've got some support down to here now from around that 15.273 area on the German 30, and we see resistance up at 15.522. Some of the stock index futures have started trading, but we will need to give it a fair bit more time, as this period now is not really much of a judge for now. So the US 30, for instance, we're still seeing this range in play, and so we are now giving this area here a bit more focus, and it's turning into some support here. Sellers will really need to break this level here to signal something, and again buyers are going to have to break this level here to signal something as well. So resistance 34.139, and then support really at that 33.665 area. So still pretty range bound there. Now we will touch on the Nasdaq quickly. So the Nasdaq continued its push lower. It still does look like a bit of a correctional phase. We had a bit of there's a bit of a consolidation here. It's not really distribution. We still see support around this area here. We have seen one touch and rejection so far by buyers, and that's really from 12.163 up to 12.200 to 12.250, and we'll just need to see if we can see buyers start to form something. We still like this trend, and we'll see if buyers can start to find some support, but a breakdown into these areas could be a bit of a worry. So we'll give the market a bit more time and to see if we get some more answers from there. Now we touched on the oil before, so we can just see here with oil we had that nice break higher on Friday. It's broken above this short-term resistance at 78.93. We had that nice support hold down at this point, 72.95. It's still in a longer term range, and even with that news coming out over the weekend, Friday / the weekend, with Russia cutting down oil production, we want to see if price can get going now, if it can get back up to and test this 81.53 area and above, and we'd like to see a break at that area. If we do see a break at that area, we'll be potentially looking to see if a new upswing can get going. Otherwise, it's pretty much range bound at the moment, guys, and it's still sitting, mid-range, even though it has had a nice little run recently. So we really just need to see a breakout of this area here to tell us which way the market is starting to go. And I think the market's really waiting for further influences to get going. So now before we start looking at crypto, we'll just take a look at some of the things that are coming up. So for data-wise this week, and there is a few coming up. It's going to be a bit more of a busy week compared to last week. So today we have CPI for Switzerland. Tomorrow we have the climate count change for the UK, and then on Tuesday as well we have a pretty key piece of data, which is US CPI, and that's pretty sensitive at the moment. That's yearly, month on month, and the core month on month, and that's at Tuesday. And then we have the RBA Governor Lowy speaking, and we also have Great Britain, UK CPI on Wednesday as well. So it's early Wednesday morning, our time at 2 a.m. And they're looking for a decrease to 10.3%. It's still a pretty solid number at 10.3%. So regardless if it does drop, it's still not the best of news, but we'll see if that can occur, and that might have an influence on the pound, and will definitely could have a bit of a influence as well on the Bank of England and how they're seeing things as well moving forward. Now, moving along on Wednesday as well, we have US retail sales, and we have the Empire State Manufacturing Index. And on Thursday morning, we have employment change for Australia, and the unemployment rate, they're looking for 3.5%, and they're looking for 20k new jobs created. And then we have to round out the week, we have US core PPI and the PPI, so that's some more inflation data, and that will be viewed with a fair bit of interest. They're looking for an increase in the PPI to 0.3%, and the core at 0.3%, and they're looking for an increase to 0.4% after that, minus 0.5% on the PPI. And that's really it. And we just have further comments from Governor Low from the RBA, and that we have no real key data coming out to finish up on Friday. Now, we just want to finish this up for you. It's already gone over 10 minutes. So cryptocurrencies over the weekend, we all saw that big fall last week. They're still pretty much just trying to work out, I think, what they're doing next. We do have this small rally here with a bit of a failed high. We'll have to keep an eye on this to see if we see new breaks. I think the CPI data this week is going to have a fair influence. It's also going to have a bit of influence on the dollar, and we can just see a few coins are just trying to work out what they're doing right now. Ethereum's trading below that support here. It's had a test, but is coming back. So crypto looks like not on a knife's edge, but it does look like it's trying to work out what is going to happen next. And then we do see that similar pattern with the trend break. It could be just a pullback in this trend. So I still think crypto is still in a good position, but I think if there's any really big surprises with CPI this week, and if that does have a knock-on effect to some of the messages we're getting from the Fed, which haven't been exactly too clear lately, that could start to send up some selling. But if it comes out more on the dovish side, hopefully we could see crypto try and fight back from some of these recent lows. And we just want to finish just on the US dollar with all that data coming out. The dollar still looks pretty firm. It's, the pattern here looks similar to the dollar yen. This is the USD index. We've got this trend break here, and we can just mark that just in there. So there's a bit of a trend break here. We have that initial upswing here. We have a bit of a consolidation. Buyers are trying. So if we do to see a continuation, we really want to see a close above this area here. It hasn't been too deep, but we just want to see if we can get that push up. And if some of the data this week does come out in favor of the dollar, we could see that happen. Otherwise, we could see a move back down into that consolidation there. So interesting times. There's a few price patterns that are, trying to tell us something, but it looks like they're just waiting for the further influences to really confirm the moves. So that's it for this week's update. If we do have a new economic calendar out as well now, so if you have signed up recently, make sure you check that out. And, by all As usual, please subscribe if you do enjoy our content. We have different presenters during the week, so there's always something new and fresh from a different point of view. And I hope you have enjoyed today's update. Thank you very much for your time. I wish you all the best for your trading this week. And until our next update, have a great week and bye for now.